So what was it like growing up in Ireland, and how did you then get to the World Cups?
Yeah, actually, Ireland, like, we have always been quite far behind the UK for, like, the riding scene. Like, obviously you have a much bigger population, but you've so many more bike parks. Trail networks were developed much earlier on. Like, all that stuff, like, when we started biking, there was already, Steve, Pete, Rob, Warner were paving the way. I'm racing, say, 24 years. But when we started, there was no real trail networks. It was kind of riding, like, footpath, like, random fucking goat trails. And so me and my brother used to just make, like, lips in the woods, or what I told you earlier, but it is a classic. We used to wait for the tide to go out near our house, and in Sandy Cove Pier, if you know Dunleary area, if you're Irish listening to this,
leave a comment.
We would leave a comment, like, subscribe, comment below, and we would
So good.
Natural.
but we would drop off the pier to flat when the tide was out. And Jared was like, "It's good for you. You're building your wrists. We're building all the things we need to." And I'm like, "Are we? Because it seems like unnecessarily. It's like it's sore, Jared. It's fucking sore." And he's like, "No, it's good for you. It's good for you." He's my older brother, classic older brother. He's like, "You do it first."
So did your older brother get into it first, and then you followed?
Yeah. He got a magazine, he got MBUK from Eason's, and he was like, "What the hell is this?" And he kind of like was the catalyst. He pushed it. And then Santa arrived, got the mountain bikes. I snapped mine fully in half.
At the pier?
No, actually, fully enough, we'd just done a load of dirt jumps, and I was like, "Man, my bike's feeling mint." Turns out the head tube was already cracked through, so when I was bouncing up and down, it was like nearly ripping the head tube off, and then eventually I hit a corner hard, and it just fully snapped in half, and I wrecked myself. Everyone laughed at me.
Do you think that's Irish?
I still haven't got over
the
that.
Irish way, would you say?
There's, and this is why, like, I find you guys really relatable. Like, I feel like, from watching these over the years, like the banter you have, everything's taken with a grain of salt. It's a kind of a baptism of fire. Everyone gets the same treatment. It doesn't matter how big of a deal you are. You're still one of the lads, and or one of the gang. And that was growing up in Ireland. But we just didn't really have tracks. So you'd have a lip. You jump that to flat a few times. You're like, should we build a landing ramp? Get a few pallets out of a skip, case that over the bars, right? Move the lander back. Different things like that.
I'm not like crazy versed in Irish downhill history.
Yeah.
Obviously.
There's not. Yeah.
But like, obviously you said P.E. Warner, they're all out there doing it. Did anyone from Ireland?
Yeah, actually. So when I grew up, you had all like Steve Pete and all, like, we'd look at Jews across the pond, and then you'd G. Ashton coming through, and it was amazing, like Beaumont, all them. But for us, we'd like Glenn O'Brien, Colin Ross, Hornshow, Ben Reid, Jamie Poppin. Those were the big, and John Lawler. John Lawler actually does all Vital MTB stuff. He's amazing with a camera.
Okay.
And that's what makes, like, being a good rider, he knows where to stand. That's why Vital Raws have always been so good, But
because Lawler raced, right?
Yeah, he raced. He's been national champion and all that. So I grew up seeing them, and I was like, by the time I was 15, I was like, I want to start getting fast time of the day. Like, I want to beat them. I was very confident in Ireland for whatever reason.
Okay.
And I did get, like, I was getting fast time of days when I was under 16, and like was
so there
national
was
champion in
things happening.
categories.
There was races. There was like
there was
a bit of a
the,
seed.
The thing was, there was a missing link in, there was no information sharing, or at least with the youth, so with us. And when you'd go away, that cookie would just crumble. You wouldn't know what to do with yourself.
Right.
The confidence would just go because there wasn't many Irish people paving the path. And I don't know if this would have been the same for the UK, or because UK were in the scene kind of from the get-go. Like, I don't remember not the UK riders not being amazing. So it's kind of like, oh, well, we can do it because he did it and he's down the road, or she did it and like she did it. I can do it too. And like, there was all of that. Whereas in Ireland, it was like Ben Reid like, he was ruffling feathers, like making things happen. But you're like, oh, but he's from Northern Ireland. Like, I never rided him. I don't really know him. And you're like, shit, can I do it? Like, because the Nordy riders were really quick. But me and my brother were like, oh, is that because, like, they're British? I'm not starting like any drama here. But you're nearly like, is there a psychological thing there?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Right.
But then there's like little things that happened along the way, and now you've got Ronan Dunn and Oisin. Because there's been various riders, and like whether I played a part in that or not, I don't know. But there's been various riders that have like gotten their names out there or done well along the way.
Carved a bit of a...
And now I see them talking about it, and they're like, we're not here to partake, we're here to take over. And you're like, that is just confidence. I wouldn't have even done as a joke back then. I wouldn't have even done it. It wouldn't have even come into my head. I didn't have it. So
Right.
it's definitely been a journey for Irish riders.
I'd say you were at that exact same time. You were in the centre of with Petey there.
Yeah.
Like that was like the most extreme version of
Yeah.
having like someone to look up to, having someone that's already shown you the way. Like,
Yeah.
I guess you've seen how it's like affected where you live,
Like the Sheffield scene,
and the scene
100%.
and stuff,
Yeah, it's something that I probably don't put enough thought into, but yeah, for sure, dude. Like I remember, because obviously I didn't find mountain biking properly until I was a little bit later, but just being able to well, obviously, again, it's sort of a bit clicky, I'll be honest, but like just having a bit of a scene there that you can jump straight into, that there's always people riding, there's always new tracks being built, there's pros around all the time, and it's like...
And that normalises it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we didn't have pros.
I would honestly,
exactly.
a lot of what you're saying resonates with. It sounds just like when we were younger as well, where you had the magazines, but they felt even. But I think that's almost like before internet thing.
Yeah.
Everyone feels like they're on their own little islands. Pardon.
Yeah.
But everyone does feel like they're sort of like separate, don't they?
I think as well, when a scene like that evolves, it's not just riders, it's media people, it's industry job. So you start seeing so much more opportunity. And you're like, okay, maybe I don't have to be a pro rider to make a living.
No,
but I can be a, you know,
for sure,
journo or whatever.
I think looking back though, I can see so much of it is psychology.
Yeah,
it's like perceived value of yourself, like the ability, like what you could amount to. So seeing potential in yourself, believing yourself, and then just going for it. And some people have that because maybe they've traits that they've traits in themselves, just like inherent traits that just like lend themselves better to it. But yeah, I definitely think Irish people, like, they're used to being underdogs, and they nearly prefer it because that's something they're used to. So they like to rise up rather than be at the top and then sustain.
Right.
And I think, you know, that's been a really interesting thing, is like I've had a lot of time to mull this over, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, well, why didn't I, you know, at a few moments like Val de Sol World Champs 2008 as an elite, my goal was just to go mental the whole way down and see if I could pull it off. Now, I was top 10 in the world by the halfway point, and now I had a crash. And then my bottom split, I think, was still top 20, but I ended up like 40th or something at that World Champs, which was still my best World Champs at that point, but it actually would have been like easily a top 20, which would have, like, for me, would have been just such a massive deal. But I never really... Like, even at the top before my race run, I was like, I'm just going to go for it, but see what happens. Like, I didn't really go, like, I'm going to go for it, and I know I can do this.
Okay.
Do you get me? Whereas it's interesting now with, like, my confidence, and say if I'm, like, running someone's social media, or where I should stand when I'm at an event videoing, or the type of speed, if someone's coming in and they don't look right. Like, there's so much more stuff I know now, but I'm very confident about it. And my work then is better because of that. It's just like so much of it's in your head.
We talked about that ceiling that you put on. And I wonder
It's
whether
really stuck with me when you said that as well.
Yeah, well,
like, it really has.
I wonder whether that's like a a thing, being from an island.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like there's a ceiling or whatever. I think everyone feels it, whether you know it or not. You feel like there's like you've got that, like, this limit.
Yeah, I lived in a bungalow. I mean, that's why Stevie Smith, it's hard for us to believe it now. You're like, Canadians are absolutely rapid, they're amazing. But no one had done it properly until Stevie did it.
Yeah.
So for them, they're like, oh, like, we're good, and there's a scene, and certainly a freeride scene, but, like, can we actually make it as racers? And that's hard to believe. You're like, really? Canadians thought like that? There was a time when they did. So once again, it's just like, someone needs to pave the way, that person's special, and then, or people, or group, and then it's like, oh, it's been done. There's no mystery anymore.
If you want to see more, just click here, is it?
Yeah, it's up there. Should be up there.
About there.
Yeah, about
and
there.
then there's other ones here.
Other ones there that you might like.
We're all looking after each other, and that's Christmassy, and that's the Ride Companion.